What's up, everybody? James Duggan here with Vincent Janito.
Heyo.
So you are reviewing Overwatch, and your review in progress is up. What do you think? What's going on?
I'm in love with this game. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody who's watched me stream it or play it at any point over the course of the last 7 months. I think that in terms of design, in terms of balance, in terms of taking simple elements and creating a lot of depth with them in a way that's intuitive and balanced, I just can't think of another multiplayer game in recent memory that kind of does it with the level of success that Overwatch does. So I'm super, super happy with it so far.
Tell me about your progression through, I mean, obviously you played this very early in beta, so did I, and we kind of got walked through the whole development with these Blizzard developer updates and where their head was at and in terms of balancing and game modes and things like that in the player experience. So tell me how your opinion of this game has either evolved or changed from the start, from the very first time you played it.
So the very first time I played it, so the nice thing about Overwatch is that it's immediately fun and enjoyable. Like, just the way that it feels to walk around and move around the world, to use even the simplest of abilities, it just feels right and feels good. Like, Blizzard knows how to make something look and feel magical, even if it's something as simple as just shooting a pulse rifle, or even just moving around. Like, characters like Lucio, just the way they move around, they kind of, like, since he's on skates, he has that little bit of momentum to his movement where he doesn't feel like floaty, but you get that glidey sense of like, oh, cool, I'm rolling along on these cool rollerblades, and it just makes him feel distinct and different. So Blizzard nails that stuff, and I felt that right away, but I wasn't sure when I first started playing the game if I was convinced about balance and if I was convinced that there was actually going to be enough depth to keep me interested initially, like especially like the way Bastion was in early parts of the beta, the way that Pharah felt. There was definitely characters that just felt like they were too easy to get too much out of. But I feel like over time, with the balance changes that they've made, and also as I've learned more and unfurled more of the kind of different layers of gameplay and depth, kind of counterplays to things that seem initially powerful, I've come to feel like this is one of the more At launch, this is now one of the more balanced, I think, multiplayer games that I can remember having played.
Sure, and I'm sure a lot of people would debate you on that, and that they think certain characters are completely overpowered in XYZ. I think what I've learned about balance in this game, as well as like character selection, is that skill is such a huge factor. And you can pick an offensive character during a defend round and vice versa, and your player skill will determine your success. So whether or not the majority of players in the game, like the lower 90% echelon of players, which is basically everybody, really is experiencing those balance woes, unless it's something like a McCree or a Bastion with a shield before he got nerfed and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be an ongoing process, and I think a lot of people, just like other multiplayer-only games in the past, they look at this $60 price point and they say, wow, that seems a lot for the amount of content here. What would you say to those people?
Well, I actually think that there's a lot of content here. It's just the thing is that it's funny. It's almost like Blizzard is guilty of just giving it all to you right at the start, and that for some people that kind of works against it in that it seems like there isn't a lot because you don't have to work a lot to get what's the meat that's there. But I mean, so it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, like if you, as a multiplayer game, multiplayer design is a different kind of design than single player design is. In terms of what other multiplayer-only games provide, I don't think that there's anything wrong with 12 maps and 21 characters. The one thing I will say, though, about in terms of the amount of content versus the potential cost, is that compared to, say, something like Halo or Call of Duty, or some other shooters, the maps are all designed, like 12 maps is a decent number of maps, but of course the maps are all designed to facilitate one particular kind of objective and one particular kind of game mode. So in that sense, whereas other FPSs will have like 20-something maps, and each of those maps, or most of them anyway, will support multiple game types. You can kind of get a lot of variety and a lot of different permutations for just one map. That's not the kind of game that Overwatch is. Like once you play Lijiang Tower, or like once you play Ilios, or once you play Volskaya Industries, like you've seen all the permutations in terms of like what your possible objectives will be. And I think for some people who are used to, multiplayer games with like 20 or 30 maps and like maybe 10 or 15 different modes that all work on all those maps or most of them, I think for them, the overall variety in terms of that content is maybe a little bit thin for the price point. But in terms of the number of hours of enjoyment, I don't think that I think you'll easily get your $40 or $60 worth of value out of Overwatch.
Sure, and the other thing I've learned about purchasing Blizzard titles over the years, and they've already said that they're going to be adding post-launch heroes as well as maps and potentially even new modes, they elected to go with a pay-to-play model here as opposed to a free-to-play model. And it's a conventional $60 price point, but you would assume, and
well,
we would
60
hope,
on console, 40 is the base price on PC.
Sure, there is an Origin edition though on PC that's 60 that has a lot of people purchasing it. But anyway, you are basically buying into a community. You're buying into an experience that is going to evolve, that is going to go through stages, both between like which characters are powerful in the meta, as well as what game modes, ranked gameplay, stuff like that. So it's going to be an evolving game. I think Blizzard has done a very good job instilling in its fan base that like when you purchase a game, you're purchasing the continued support of that game.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if they really do stick to that, which I don't have any huge reason to think that they wouldn't. They have explicitly stated that the game will be supported with new characters and maps and modes for free. So, assuming they stick with that, I think it's really setting a great example. Like, I personally, I don't like sales pitches in the middle of my game, and I don't like the feeling that the amount of fun I'm allowed to have is directly relative to whether or not I've paid for something that I've been told is free. So it's I like the idea that I'll be able to just enjoy all the maps and all the characters that Blizzard has put all this love and detail and attention into, and that especially given that this particular game focuses on being able to switch characters mid-match to kind of adapt to what your opponent is doing, it would be a really horrible feeling experience if I couldn't do that on the fly and have the full catalog of characters to choose from to counterpick with. That would be a terrible feeling. So I'm glad they went with the way they did, and if they can show that you can be profitable by having a traditional model, and then instead of charging for DLC, just giving the add-ons away for free.
Right.
That would be a huge
stipulate
precedent.
that you can purchase the loot boxes though. Those are purchasable.
Sure, you can, but you also earn them very regularly and
Yep.
generously. Like every time you level up, you get another loot box. So it's not it's definitely not hard to. It's definitely not hard to get new stuff. I haven't spent any amount of time playing this game where I felt like, aside from the fun that I got, I didn't get anything for it. I got 6 or 7 packs easily last night, and then as you get more of the stuff that's available to you, you'll also build up credits, and then instead of relying on packs, you can actually just purchase this directly the stuff that you want with in-game currency. So, I feel like there's a fair amount of progression there, where even though they are charging for packs, I don't feel like it's never for gameplay stuff, and it also never makes me feel like I'm losing out by not spending extra money beyond the amount that I paid for the base game.
Great. So when can we see your full review?
So my full review will be up sometime in the next couple of days. No later. At the very latest, it would be. Oh, you tried to reflect that shot. That would have been sick.
Yeah, you waited.
At the very latest, it would be Friday, but I think you're gonna see it probably earlier than that. But I just want to make sure I test out the servers, make sure that they don't kind of go south. Although they've had a solid launch, the first 15-20 minutes, it was a little bit tough for them to keep up with the floodgates opening, but since then it's been very strong for me. So
I'd like to point out this is the cleanest launch, StarCraft not included, online of any Blizzard game that I've experienced.
Oh, easily.
World of Warcraft expansions included, obviously Diablo 3 included.
Sure. They've clearly learned a lot, so it's good to see the game launch in a good state and not have to wait around for it to be playable and good for everybody. So, yeah, that's what I got. You'll see my review later this week.
Excellent. Looking forward to it, Vince. Thank you so much for joining me
My
here.
pleasure.
And for all things Overwatch, keep it right here on IGN.